Hi, my name is Winnie. Welcome to my life's journey. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing and for all your views. I'm so grateful. And today I want to share part 2 of the story surrounding my mother's death, and just to see from her own point of view how the abuse had affected her. So this is a letter that I came across from where I keep some of my memories in this file. This is a book, a letter I came across that she wrote 3 years before she died, and I just want to read parts of it which I feel are necessary, especially to just raise awareness for someone out there who may be going through abuse and maybe they're not even sure if it's abuse. That is sometimes what abuse does to you. It makes you question your sanity. Are you really believing, or is it really happening? So, and from my mother's own point of view and personal letter, she shared something that I would like to read, and it says, somewhere between that time and the year 2000, she was referring to the time when she had just met my stepdad. I surrounded myself with people and situations that degraded, devalued, and limited me. Suddenly I changed from the confident and happy me to someone who was always afraid, with an extremely low self-esteem. My fears, weaknesses, and views about life were colored by low self-esteem and lack of self-worth. It was like I had this roadmap that led to nowhere. It seemed I seemed to be held down by frustrations, unmet challenges and failures, all the plans of excelling in my music as a hobby, of being a good parent and being there for my kids. I regret I was never there for Winnie when she was young and needed her mother's love most. I regret that just because I did not have the guts to walk out of an abusive marriage sooner, one of my children was exposed to violence. All my children were exposed to violence. How can I ever make it up to my children? I don't know. I just try to do my best now and leave the rest to God. I had plans of furthering my education. I did a diploma in whatever, and started this, but I stopped because of a very volatile life on the home front. Okay? I was so desperately unhappy. I ran away from that home so many times. Sometimes in the middle of the night, only to end up back there because I practically felt like I had nowhere to go. As I said, I had this roadmap that led to nowhere. I was ashamed to tell my parents and my friends what was going on, so I just carried the burden alone. This in turn made me angry. I was angry that no one cared. I was angry for placing myself in that situation. This anger stopped me from moving on. Angry people are stagnant. Angry people are frustrated. Angry people see challenges as obstacles. Angry people fail before they start, so they usually never try. Okay? The first time I read this letter, I cried. I remember there was a friend of mine who can confirm this. I really truly cried because I had never seen my mother from this point of view, and it made me understand her. But unfortunately, it was after she had died. So I really just cried because for me, I was just like, my mother left me at my parents. I had not understood what it looked like from her point of view. So the letter continues. After I walked out of that abusive relationship, I was always crying and very suicidal. I became depressed. And very suicidal. I just wanted to die, not because I wanted to go back, but because I felt I had wasted my life. I became so depressed and more suicidal. I was emotionally unavailable for my kids. Oh, how I regret this. I tried alcohol. Those were the days when I entered my bedroom on Friday evening and I would just lock myself up with a bottle of vodka and 1 liter Coke, occasionally coming out to go to the toilet until Monday morning when I had to leave to go to the office. The alcohol was not working, so I wanted to try drugs. But of course, the people around me did not give me a chance. So the parts I'm not going to read, they're very personal. You cannot belong to anyone until you belong to yourself. I guess I needed that time to belong to myself first by reevaluating myself, regaining my self-confidence, and also to look at my past dead in the face and see it for what it is, the past. It's over without shame, without blame. I had to look at what happened and know it does not have to happen again. And no matter how painful the past was, I'm grateful for one thing. I made it through. Okay? This was a letter written by my mom 3 years before she died. And to be honest, I remember, because that is the time I was actually with my mom, and truly I remember her locking herself in her room just to drink. I remember she was coming from work and she would tell us to buy her a drink, before she got home. So she was completely dependent on alcohol. She had become, an alcoholic, kind of. And I remember my grandmother kept on telling me, don't drink, so many times. And now it made so much sense. So here we just see how abuse can take you away. We see here there's a part where my mom said that she surrounded herself with people in situations that degraded, devalued, and limited her. Even the things she loved, like music. I knew my mom loved music, but she had to drop it. Why? Because the situation around her had sucked the life out of her, until she got to a place where she was no longer happy. She was no longer herself. Her self-esteem had gone. She had hit, a rock bottom, when it comes to just how she thought of herself. And of course, her fears, weaknesses, and views about life were colored also by, low self-esteem, which is brought about by abuse. Like I mentioned in my previous video, we all know that physical abuse never exists independently. They also exist with verbal abuse. They also exist with emotional abuse and all other kinds of abuse that we may not even be able to know. And here my mom says that she had, if for the people who know my mom, they know that she was this very confident woman, very poised, she knew what she wanted. But here she said that she had this roadmap that led to nowhere. Yeah. And she also said that she had been let down by frustrations, And it's true, my mother just kind of those days she seemed to be frustrated, always irritated by a lot of things. And it was really hard even to just have a conversation with her. Because, especially for me, because every time I would talk to her, she kind of felt like I was judging her. I think just the mere sight of me would remind her of everything she failed to do as a parent. It was a hard place even for me as well, because I'm just a child. I've come to live with my mother. This connection is there. I couldn't even call her mom. And now I'm trying to reach out to her, but we are not connecting. I'm reminding her of the things she failed. It was a very bad place. And of course, in our family, a lot of people were, she was like the advisor, the person who would, be there for everyone. And it was so hard for her to tell her she's failing, to tell other people rather that she's failing. Because at the end of the day, what was happening was that she was going through her own issues, and because other people were looking up to her, it was hard for her to say, I'm failing. And of course, there's a part where she says that she was ashamed even to tell her parents. She was ashamed to tell the people around her. It's easy for her to be angry, because when we don't speak out, what happens is we keep it inside, and whatever we keep it inside becomes anger. And also after a while, it becomes resentment. After a while, it becomes bitterness. So here my mother was saying that she was angry, and she says that angry people are stagnant, angry people are frustrated, angry people see challenges as obstacles. Angry people fail before they start, so they usually never try. Okay, so I was reading through this, and I think I've read this letter, maybe more than 50 times, and every time I read it, it's like I understand my mother in a better way. Unfortunately, she's not here for me to go and tell her, what, this is what I've learned, and this is what I understand about your journey, and I forgive you. There's an article I shared also on that my mom died before I could forgive her. And of course, it doesn't mean that you can't forgive a person because they are dead. It's still necessary, it's still important for you to be able to forgive, for you to be able to release for your own good, especially because you're the one still alive. So my point is just to share with many people out there, because I know the story of my mother is a story that has so many dynamics, both for children who did not live with their parents, especially their mother, and also for men who are abusing their wives, also for women who are being abused. Of course, just like my mother, there's so many women out there or even men who are going through different situations. And let's learn from my mother's story. Of course, she left, but the damage that she had gone through was too much. But I hope that someone else who's still alive and who has a chance to live will listen to this video, and they will have the courage to live, because you only have one life. And it's important to live a life that you're proud of. It's important to live a life that you have peace, because I believe peace of mind, peace of heart is one of the basic human needs, and no one deserves the right to come into your life and take away your humanness and take away even your basic right to be alive, because when a person manipulates you, when a person abuses you, it denies you a chance to even live a decent life. We're not even talking about the one where you have money and sometimes you don't have money. We're not talking about that one. We're just talking about, I don't have money but I'm at peace. I don't have this but I'm at peace. So that kind of peace, that is the one I'm talking about. So someone else has to have the courage do that which my mother did not have the courage to. Sometimes it's too late, okay? And for my mother, it was too late. Every time I'd rather use her story, I'd rather speak from where she left it off so that someone else can be helped. So I hope that you've learned something. Thank you so much for your support as usual, and all the best. Thanks.